As an expert on AI, as well as a former member of the PGA Section Board of Directors, Paul has a unique perspective and comprehensive understanding of how your golf business, specifically yours, will be influenced by machine learning and how you can use AI to benefit and enhance, streamline, and grow your golf course operations. So here we go. Looking forward to this. Let's give him a big warm welcome. Our keynote speaker, coming to the stage, Mr. Paul Roetzer.
Good morning, everyone. So how many of you were with us at TechCon? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, so there's some new stuff here. All right, so anyone who's kind of seen variations of this talk. So anyone who was with us at TechCon knows I do have a bit of a background in the golf industry. So I actually grew up caddying, high school and college. I spent 8 years as a caddy and worked in the bag room at a country club in Cleveland. And then I started my career at a PR agency in 2000. I came out of the journalism school at Ohio University. And my first major account that I ran myself was the Junior PGA Championship. So I actually ran media relations for 7 years for the Junior PGA when it was held at Westfield Group Country Club in Ohio. In that time, I also got to run media relations for the Junior Ryder Cup when it came to Westfield when Rory McIlroy was playing on the Junior Ryder Cup team. And then I also, through that relationship, my friend who I graduated high school with was the tournament director for the Senior PGA Championship in 2009 when it was played at Canterbury. And I got to run media relations for that event as well. And then shortly thereafter, I joined the board as an independent board member for the Northern Ohio PGA, which was actually the first client when I started my own agency in 2005. So I worked with the Northern Ohio PGA for 15 years before I sold my agency back in 2021 to focus on AI. So again, I've spent a lot of time in the golf industry. I'm a member of a club today, trying to get my kids in the game. My kids are 10 and 12, trying to spark that interest for them. But I come at AI really from the perspective of what is the story. So back in 2011, I don't know how many of you remember this, but IBM Watson won on Jeopardy. Ken Jennings, Brad Rutter, and that was a spark for me of curiosity. So I was trying to figure out what exactly is that technology? How did it do that? How is it understanding questions? How is it replying? How is it appearing to be superhuman at a game of knowledge? And so my interest was, it seems to be able to think, can I apply that to marketing and business? So companies would come to my marketing agency and want to grow their organizations, whether they were golf courses. We worked with golf courses back in the day, building sponsorship packages, for example, for Little Mountain Country Club. And so we were working with all these different organizations, and they would all want the same thing. They would want to grow their companies. And so they would come to us, and I would have what I viewed as a relatively limited ability to do that because my mind can only understand so many things. And so when I came out of school in 2000, there was like 10 ways to spend your marketing dollars and grow your company. By 2011, when Watson's winning on Jeopardy, there's like 10,000 ways. So I had become convinced that the human mind was actually limited. It was incapable of building an optimal growth strategy for a company because there was just too many ways to do it. And that's why I started studying Watson and AI, and eventually in 2016 created my AI Institute, was to research and share what we were learning about the story of AI. And so that's what I'm here to tell you today, is the story of AI and how it can impact your organization. So regardless of what business you're in, regardless of what the industry is, when we look across the economy, we look at the workforce, when we look at educational systems, I spend a lot of time talking with leaders of school systems, from universities down, all the way on down. Everything is changing, and yet the most advanced CEOs in the world sometimes struggle to comprehend what is happening. So this is, if you're sitting in the room thinking this stuff is abstract, it's sci-fi, it's kind of overwhelming to think about, I can tell you, I have talked to the heads of some of the biggest companies in the world. They don't have plans for this stuff. They're piloting it, they're trying it, there's people within their organization that are starting to do things, but they don't truly comprehend the shift it's going to cause within their technology stacks, within their talent, within their business strategies within their competitive landscape. The reason why people are just starting to figure this out is because for most people, AI started November 30th, 2022. So AI is an area of research, a discipline, actually goes back to the 1950s. The theory that we could give machines intelligence goes back to a guy named John von Neumann, who used to work in the US government. They were thinking about Alan Turing, building the Turing machine. So in the 50s, the 60s, there was this belief that we could build these intelligent machines, but it didn't become practical and accessible to all of us. Then, in November 30th, 2022, OpenAI, a relatively little-known research lab to most people, releases ChatGPT. Now, all of a sudden, anyone from, at the time, my 8-year-old kid to an operator of a golf facility could go online for free and ask a question of a chatbot and have a conversation with it. Talk to it about strategy, have it write an article. And that was magical for people. Within 2 weeks of ChatGPT coming out, I was getting calls from heads of the largest VC firms in the world, presidents of universities, CEOs of major brands. Everyone all of a sudden wanted to figure out artificial intelligence. The key for me was, while for a lot of people it was new in that moment, where we were going in the world was actually quite apparent if you were reading the right things. This is Sam Altman. He was in the headlines in November, December, because he got fired for about 72 hours from OpenAI. You maybe saw those headlines. But Sam created OpenAI back in 2015 with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, the PayPal people. And what they set out to do was build general intelligence. They wanted to create AI that could do most human cognitive tasks. Seemed really weird, really fringe stuff at the time. But in 2021, this was March 2021, Sam wrote a blog post called Moore's Law for Everything. Now, Moore's Law, if you're not familiar, if any of you invest in NVIDIA, if you've hopefully been an investor of NVIDIA for the last few years, you've done quite well. NVIDIA builds chips that are the processors for like video games and your phones, and they're the chips that are used to train AI. Moore's Law goes back to the 1960s, and it was basically a premise by Gordon Moore, the founders of Intel, that the number of transistors on those chips would double every like 18 months. And with the doubling of those chips would be the doubling of a computing power. And if you projected that out over decades, you could actually have supercomputers in your pocket. So your phone today is more powerful than the machines that landed on the moon in the 1960s. Your phones are representative of Moore's Law, that this computing power keeps expanding. Sam projected that intelligence, the intelligence of these machines would follow something like Moore's Law, that every couple years, these things would get twice as smart as they already were. So in March 2021, Sam was saying, hey, everyone thought AI, because of the movies, was coming for like labor. It was going to be robotics that was going to, we're going to see these humanoid robots everywhere. When in fact, what was happening in the major research labs at Google and Meta and OpenAI and others was human abilities, cognitive abilities of thinking, of reasoning, persuasion, creativity. This is what they were building. In March 2021, when he wrote this, they already had an early version of GPT-3, GPT-4, what became ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is just a chat interface. Underneath it is what's called a language model. That's what they were building, these models that seem to understand human words and seem to be able to create these words. This is a very important, bigger concept to understand as I start to drill into what this means to your golf business. Because what's happening is, for the last 10 or so years, these AI capabilities have been finding their ways into your daily life. But your business, your software that you use to run your business, was not powered by this. But if you use social media sites, the way they predict what you are going to be interested in, they monitor everything, like not just clicks, not just whether you like something. They measure how long you linger on photos. They measure literally everything you do to predict what you will do next. So they can surface content for you in your feeds that you are most likely to find interesting. So if you want to run ads predicting who's going to go golfing, they can take all this data. There was a study from, I think it was Consumer Reports last week, that said the average Facebook user, they have over 2,000 data sources on each person on Facebook. Meaning people sell their data, give it to Facebook, and they use all this data, Home Depot, Walmart, all these places you go. They sell that data, and then they compile a persona about you to predict everything you're going to do in your life. So like, have you ever felt like your phone was listening to you? I get this all the time. Oh, the phone's totally listening to me. I just talked about this morning. I got an ad this afternoon. That's because they have over 2,000 data sources on you. They know everything you think about and do. So people, they use this data to target you. They use it to predict things about you. If you drive a Tesla, or if you've been in a Tesla, it uses AI for computer vision to be able to see the roads. Netflix recommends shows and movies. Spotify learns the music you love. All of these technologies were powered and have been powered for the last 10 years by artificial intelligence. But your CRM system, your course management system, all of these things weren't. We didn't have this AI truly built into our business lives, but that is what is now happening. That ChatGPT moment for society was an awareness of AI at a consumer level. But in the business world, and especially in the software world, it was a wake-up call. You cannot get funding today as a software startup if you're not building an AI tool. Like VCs just stopped funding everything unless there was an AI roadmap within these companies. So every piece of software you use in your business in the coming years has to be infused with AI. It's the only way forward. And what that's going to cause is this sort of exponential growth in what the technology you use is capable of. So the reason this is really challenging to sort of envision, like, when we build our plans for today, when you think about growth, even if you're the association saying, how do we go from 3,800 members to 5,000 members? You think in a linear path based on what you know to be true. You think about the tech you have today, you think about what you understand about the world, you think about what you think you know about consumers or your buyers, and you build a plan. But what if the future 6 months from now, 12 months from now, looks nothing like what we have today? That's an exponential growth curve. And the human mind isn't designed to think in exponentials. This is Greg Brockman. He is the co-founder of OpenAI, the lesser-known co-founder of OpenAI, along with Elon Musk and Sam Altman and a guy named Ilya Sutskever. So he tweeted February 2023. This is about a month before GPT-4 came out. I will talk more about GPT-4 in a minute, but ChatGPT, again, is the chat interface. GPT-4 is the language model that powers it. As of this moment, this could change next week, GPT-4 is the most powerful language model in the world. OpenAI released it over a year ago. It is still the most powerful model. So Greg said the most amazing fact about AI is that even though it's starting to feel impressive, a year from now, we'll look back fondly on the AI that exists today as quaint and antiquated. He could retweet this every February moving forward. It is so fast moving, and I'm going to show you how fast moving in a minute. What does this start to mean for us as business owners, as leaders in an industry? We're under the assumption that at least 80% of what all knowledge workers do, and a knowledge worker is an entrepreneur, it's a business owner, it's a marketer, a consultant, a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, bankers, everybody, anybody who thinks or creates for a living, anybody who uses a computer, basically, their work will be AI assisted within 1 to 2 years. Now that sounds like a pretty bold claim, but it's actually not when you think about where this is all going. Does anyone in the room use HubSpot as like a CRM, marketing automation system? Got a couple hands going up. So HubSpot is a $35 billion CRM. My agency in 2007 was their first partner. They ended up building a massive distribution channel through marketing agencies, and we were the origin of that program. So the founders of HubSpot are friends of mine. We know their business pretty intimately. In September of last year, they introduced all of these AI features. They're going to have, you want to build a landing page for an event at your course? Text prompt it. Build me a landing page for an event that has this information in it, and it'll create the page for you. Send emails that do this, it'll write the emails for you. They're going to infuse AI into every aspect of marketing, sales, and customer service. And so if you have HubSpot, you'll be able to just have AI built right in. So you don't have to go looking for it. Salesforce, I heard the association is building a platform around Salesforce. They're building the AI technology, what's called generative AI, into every aspect of Salesforce. So if you're a Salesforce user, how many Salesforce users in the crowd today? A few, okay. So it's going to be built in. GPT, so ChatGPT, stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. A transformer is the architecture that was invented by Google in 2017 that became the basis for these language models. So when you see GPT tied to everything, that's what it means. How many people use Google Workspace, like Docs and Sheets and, okay. Oh, okay. So they have something called Duet AI. You can turn it on right now as an admin for, I think it's $25 a month. Don't, it's not very good yet. Go ahead and test it. But they just announced in December a entirely new series of language models called Gemini. We are waiting, we as an industry, as a society, are waiting for the most powerful one called Gemini Ultra, which we believe will be released sometime in the next 2 months. It is supposed to be more powerful, or at least on par with GPT-4. That will become the underlying model that powers their AI, but you will be able to be in Google Docs and say, write this for me. You'll be able to be in Google Sheets and say, analyze this data for me. Google Slides, say, build me slides. To show you what this looks like, how many people use Microsoft 365 to run their business? Or personally even. So Microsoft is the largest investor in OpenAI. They own 49% of OpenAI. They've put, I think, $13 billion into OpenAI. It gives them access to GPT-4, to their models, their powerful models, which are now built into what are called copilots. So if you are a Microsoft user, as of 2 weeks ago, you can get 365 copilots turned on for also about $25 or $30 a month per user in your company. What I'm about to show you is what this technology is supposed to be capable of. If you go get it today, it's not going to perform exactly like what you see here. They just started releasing this technology in November. They just made it available to people with less than 150 users last week. So it is very early, but realistically at some point this year, this is representative of what both Microsoft and Google will enable. So when you think about AI in the golf business, it's not just about consumer experiences. It's not about sci-fi stuff. It's about real back office stuff where you can gain 10, 20, 30% efficiency in document creation, meeting management, things like that. So again, that technology is available today. You can go get it for $30 per user per month. What I advise, and we'll talk a little bit more how to do this within an organization later, is have a couple people start with it and have an onboarding plan. Don't go pay $30 a month and turn it on for everybody in your company. Go get a couple people who over a 90-day period can learn how to actually use the technology, figure out the use cases in your organization, and then get the value out of it. What I will show you and what I can promise you is $30 per user per month is the greatest value in software history for what these tools are going to be capable of doing for your company. Anybody use Zoom in the audience? Okay, so as a paying Zoom member, you can turn on something called AI Companion at no additional cost. AI Companion, when you turn it on in each meeting, it's a per meeting, you say, okay, yes, use it. It does live transcription behind the scenes. So you're not seeing it, but the AI is actually transcribing everything that's said in real time and making it searchable, and you can talk to it. So in the right column, what you see here is just like when you click on the right column, you'd see chat or participants, you now see an AI Companion. You can join 5 minutes in and say, what are the action items that have been discussed so far? It'll give them to you. Has my name been mentioned? It knows who you are, so you don't have to tell it your name. Yes, here's what they've said about you so far. These are the action items tied to you. You can interact with everything that has been said, and then it will send you an AI-generated summary. Again, generative AI, generative meaning it's generating words and images and videos. It will send you a summary of the meeting with subheads broken up by topics, and at the bottom will be action items. For no additional charge, there's an AI Companion already built into Zoom. 3 weeks ago, which is part of the reason why Microsoft is now announcing what they're announcing, OpenAI announced ChatGPT Team. So prior to that, you needed to have 150 people in your company that would buy ChatGPT for your enterprise. Now it's 1 to 149. You can go in self-serve and just upgrade for $20 per month, $20 per user per month to ChatGPT Team. And now your team, just like Microsoft Copilot. This is where it starts getting confusing though. It's like, well, if I have Microsoft, do I need ChatGPT? Get these questions all the time. But you can, if you are already a ChatGPT user, upgrade and have a workspace for your team to collaborate within it. As weird as this is maybe already starting to appear for some of you, what I can 100% confidence tell you is this is the dumbest form of AI you will ever see in human history. Every day that passes, I do a podcast every Tuesday, and I can tell you we run out of time for the amount of changes every week to talk about. We talk about 3 main topics and 5 to 10 rapid fire items, and we end up cutting 5 to 10 things every single week that we just don't even have time to get to. The pace of change is hard to imagine. And I spend 24 hours a day thinking about this, and there are some days where I am overwhelmed by it. So let's take a step back and try and give you a really tangible understanding now of what it actually is and how you can start using it today in your business. The best definition I have found, again, I came out of journalism school. Like, I am not a data scientist. I am not a machine learning engineer. So for years, I struggled to find an explanation of AI that I could give to other people that actually made sense. This is the best definition I found. Demis Hassabis created an AI research lab in London called DeepMind, sold it to Google around 2014 for about $700 million. He now runs AI at Google. They combined Google Brain and DeepMind into a single research lab last fall. He said, it's the science of making machines smart. Machines is abstract, so let's replace that with software. The software you use to run your business gains intelligence. It now starts to learn and has the ability to do things. So, as I said, AI actually goes back to the 1950s. For most of that time, for the first 70 years, what we had was machine learning. So AI is an umbrella term for the tools and technologies that make software smart. Machine learning is actually kind of easy to understand too. Replace machines with software, software learning. The software learns from inputs. So if I send an email to 10,000 people who've played at my course in the last 2 years, right now, nothing happens. The software enables me to write it, it enables me to send it, and then there's some analytics software I can go look at and try and figure out who opened it, who clicked, who ended up scheduling a tea time. Like, I have to do all the work. Machine learning does the work for me. I send the email, it analyzes clicks and opens and conversions. It analyzes the data, and then it learns from it to improve the next email. That's an example of kind of machine learning. That's what powers Netflix and Spotify and Google Maps and all of these things. Deep learning is a subset of that. We're going to spend some time talking about deep learning. That is the belief that we could give these machines human-like intelligence. It's what Sam was talking about: thinking, reasoning, understanding, persuasion, empathy, creativity. They wanted to teach it to think like the human brain. That's where deep learning comes from. So again, the last 10, 15 years in business, we have had forms of AI that were basically about making predictions. This is machine learning. It could do forecasting models. This is how weather forecasts happen, by the way. Pattern recognition, that's where it's recognizing your patterns of behavior in social media as an example. Personalizing ads and emails. Pricing, Amazon, the way it personalizes product recommendations for you. This was all machine learning based. We see this in organizations in the golf industry like Club Caddy, where they can make predictions about behaviors. They can do price optimization. They can do billing and payment optimization, anomaly detection. They're looking for patterns that find anomalies. This is the kind of AI that has been built into some software over the last 10 years. Where we're going, though, as an industry, is the deep learning side. Computer vision is the technical term. I always shorten it to just vision. We're trying to give these things the ability to quote unquote see. So again, if you've ever been in a Tesla, how many people have been in a Tesla, just out of curiosity? Okay. You may or may not know this. They have 8 outward-facing cameras and 1 in your car. I don't know if you know this, but above the rearview mirror, there's actually a camera that looks into the car. It's trying to get a world view. So they have literally like 15 or 20 billion miles of driving, watching how humans drive. And for like 7 years, they've been using the data from those cameras to build a world model so the car actually sees or understands the world around it. That was made possible by vision. Unlocking your phone with your face is computer vision. It's all of these things where you're trying to give the machine the ability to sort of see. But what changed in the generative AI movement was giving these things the ability to generate images, to generate video. And so that's the example we see with this image gen technology, which was from Google. You can see this computer vision thing playing out in the golf industry. Some of you have probably seen some technology, maybe even tried technology where it actually can analyze the swing. It knows where the body parts are. It knows where they should be, things like that. So you can start to see it within stuff like this. But this gives you a representation of how fast this is moving. Again, I go back to that exponential growth curve that I said at the beginning. In February of 2022, a company called Midjourney emerged. They do image generation, the same as that image gen I showed you. This is the same text prompt for a boy given to Midjourney over a 16-month period, 6 iterations of the software. On the left, February 2022, you have an abstract output. On the right, you have photorealism. They're on version 6 now, which is even more advanced. This rate of change, this improvement in the technology, this improvement in intelligence is the same thing that's happening in text generation, video generation, audio, code. This is how fast the AI is advancing. I'm going to show you another minute or so video to represent to you the speed of the innovation that's occurring.
Not too long ago, Runway pushed the boundaries of generative AI with Gen 1, a video-to-video model that allows you to use words and images to generate new videos out of existing ones. In the weeks since launching, the model has constantly gotten better. Better temporal consistency, better fidelity, better results. And as more and more people gained access, we unlocked entirely new use cases and displays of creativity. And today, we're excited to announce our biggest unlock yet: text to video with Gen 2. Now you can generate a video with nothing but words. No driving video, no input image. Gen 2 represents yet another major research milestone and another monumental step forward for generative AI. With Gen 2, anyone, anywhere can suddenly realize entire worlds, animations, stories, anything you can imagine. Gen 2, coming.
So Gen 2 is available now. I pay $30 a month for a license to generate for Runway. There's like 30 AI magic tools in their platform. You can build videos on your phone. Like I could go in there right now and text prompt something, a golfer on a beautiful course at sunset, and within about 30 seconds it would generate like a 4-second video clip that I can keep extending. The founders of Runway in fall of last year said their North Star is to generate a 2-hour movie with a single text prompt. So that is what they are trying to do. So if you can think about creating ads for your golf course, doing things like that, where you're going to be able to literally just go in and text prompt and create these things. The space that we are more familiar with, most of us, is the language space, though. Again, in the deep learning realm, the ability for these machines to generate words, have conversations. You're familiar with ChatGPT. This is one called Inflection Pi, pi.ai. If you want to play around with it, it's free. They have 1.3 billion in funding. They raised that in the first 9 months of existence. So they're building these models that will be golf coaches, life coaches, marketing consultants, therapists, girlfriends, boyfriends. Like they're building AIs that will just be there and learn you and know you and things like that. But at the core of this, as I said before, is these language models. The trick with these models is they're not like normal software. If you tell it normal software to do something, it does it. It's programmed to follow your rules exactly. It doesn't make mistakes. It just does what it's taught to do. Language models don't work that way. They're kind of, in a weird way, more like the human mind. You get stuff out of it sometimes that doesn't make a lot of sense, what they call hallucinations. It'll just make stuff up. It'll make up things about people. If you ask it to go write a bio about me, it may be 90% right, and then it'll just make some random thing up. Some book I wrote, some place I went, something like that. So you have to think of them not as writing replacements, not like it's just going to write all my emails for me, it's going to write all my blog posts for me, it's going to create all my ad copy for me. We need the humans in the loop. That doesn't mean that they're not insanely valuable, though. I don't actually use AI to write most of the time. It's not what I think of it as. I think of it as more a strategic assistant, a research tool, summarization of transcripts. I use it in all these other interesting ways. This is Google Bard, which is their version of ChatGPT if you haven't played with it yet. So at a high level, and this is important from a maybe like investor standpoint in your personal life to understand what's going on in the market and where all the value is being accrued in the world. On the left are the companies that are building these models. So OpenAI, we've talked a lot about. Meta, just last week, Mark Zuckerberg announced that their goal moving forward is AGI, and that they have the equivalent of, or will have, 600,000 NVIDIA chips, which may not mean a hell of a lot to you right now, but that is a massive amount of computing power. Probably $20 billion worth of chips, roughly. They are trying to train their next version of their model right now called Llama 3, which will be released into the world probably in the next 2 months. So all these companies on the left are pouring billions of dollars and have thousands of AI researchers working on building models. The companies on the right build software on top of these models. So if you wanted to go get an AI writing tool for your marketers, you could go get Jasper Writer today and start doing it. So that's kind of the basic premise. People who build the models, people who build the software on top of the models. Notify, who I know is here today, they're building capabilities on top of these models. So what happens is, like, take like an API from OpenAI, and you can now build a chat interface to book tee times that people can converse with. So this is an example where model exists, build software on top of the model that enables the golfer to then have a conversation about tee times. I also talked with Clive yesterday at Play Today. They're building an AI assistant that's trained on like a rules database for golfing. So when I'm on the golf course, I can actually ask my Scottish AI assistant for a rule. This is the kind of technology that's early in the golf industry, but you're going to see a lot more of this emerging. The part where, again, it gets kind of weird, and I am empathetic to the fact that this is really bizarre. I live this every day trying to explain this stuff to my own kids and people in a lot of different industries, but trust me when I tell you, like, this is just the foundation of what comes next. What these language models did was they unlocked a pursuit of human-like intelligence. None of these labs were building tools to write your emails. They don't care about writing your emails. They are trying to build human-like intelligence. So, the gumball thing. Renee, I apologize. I don't think this is accurate. However, when I was checking in yesterday, I saw the gumball thing. So where they're going with all of these models is they're doing what's called multimodality. Fancy word, a modality means text is a modality, images are a modality, video is a modality, audio is a modality, just a fancy word for things like that. So they're trying to give these models the ability to see, hear, speak, understand images. So I'm checking in, I thought, oh, this is perfect. So I take a picture of the gumball machine, say, how many gumballs are in here? I put this into ChatGPT. Now I have the paid account, pay the $20 a month for ChatGPT Plus. Trust me, it's worth the $20. In ChatGPT Plus, they have computer vision built in that understands images. So it replies, estimating the number of gumballs in a container can be quite tricky without knowing the exact dimension of the container and the gumballs. If you need a rough estimate, I can provide a method to calculate this. But for an accurate count, it's usually necessary to use a volume-based approach or count them manually. Would you like to know the method to estimate the number? Yeah, sure, provide an estimate, please. And then I just kind of eyeballed it. It's about 8 inches tall with a diameter of approximately 8 inches. It then gave me the formula for a volume-based approach to estimate this, including estimating that each gumball is probably an inch wide based on average, and that there's probably about a 64% efficiency in the filling of the space. And based on this, its predictive model was 492. I have no idea if that's close. Don't tell me, because I think it's open till 3 o'clock. Now, if this would obviously change if the packing efficiency was 74%, or if the gumballs were actually 0.8 inches wide. But the whole point here is it is not trained, there was no data set where it was taught to count gumballs. It learned how to do this by being fed all the knowledge it could. Like, they gave it all these millions and billions of images and words, and in that process, this alien technology learned how to predict the number of gumballs in a container. Another fun one. This is a picture of me golfing a couple years back. So I gave it that image, and I said, analyze this golf shot, consider the ball position, hands, and overall form. Again, it is not trained to analyze golf swings. Based on the image, here's some observations. Ball position's actually pretty good. Interesting, like it can actually see the ball that's half covered, obviously, in mud and water, but it's like pretty good. Hands are not bad, club's bent forward, overall form looks good. However, it really needs to see like a video or multiple angles to know if I was even aimed in the right direction and blah, 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 blah. But again, some fundamentals. So I said, well, do you notice anything unusual about the picture? And it says, upon closer examination, the golfer is positioned unusually close to the edge of a water body. Normally, golfers would take a drop from a hazard to avoid hitting directly to the water. Playing a shot with feet in the water is both uncommon and challenging. It could result in an unstable stance and potentially loss of balance. This is the part I love. Additionally, there are golf shoes and a club lying on the grass next to the golfer. This suggests the golfer might have removed his shoes to step into the water, retrieve, or play the ball. It's not a typical scene you'd expect to see on a golf course, which makes it both unusual and intriguing. It seems the golfer might be taking on a challenging shot or possibly just having a bit of fun. And it wrote that in 3 seconds. Like, this is what they're capable of with no specific training in the golf industry. So you can imagine a scenario down the road where I have an AI assistant with me on the course. Maybe it's ChatGPT, maybe it's something someone builds, and I just say, like, what do I do here? And I just show it the video, or I take a photo. Like, how should I play this? Am I allowed to play this? Do I hit off? Like, all of these things, you can start to imagine the kinds of golf experiences that people in the next generation will expect from the golf industry. And I think that's a real key here, is like the demographic of today that has sustained the golf industry and grown it all these years, the expectations of the golfers of tomorrow may be way, way different. And they may want this kind of interactive experience with the course. It may be the thing that actually draws them in and keeps them coming back. The other area where we're going to see this go very quickly is what are called AI agents. Right now, when you use a language model or use ChatGPT, it can give you responses in text form. I can say I'm planning a trip. I can say I want to go golfing here. Find me golf courses in Orlando. What are the best ones close to the hotel? Whatever. It'll do that. But if I say, okay, great, book me a tee time between 2 and 4 o'clock for 2 players, 18 holes with a cart, it can't do that. That's where all of these AI research labs are going very quickly, though. Building the ability for these models to go beyond just text outputs. They want them to be able to take actions on your behalf. Book reservations, order your pizza, whatever it is. This is going to be an emerging area in 2024. By 2025, they will be everywhere. It's early, but it's moving very quickly. The other thing you will start to see in your personal life and certainly within business is the assistants we know, Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, they will actually become functional and smart. So if any of you have tried to do anything with Siri other than ask for the weather or stock prices or scores, you know it's a rather frustrating experience. It won't be. Apple is quiet about what they're doing, but they are going to do significant things later this year with Siri. Okay, so let's start making this tangible to you. How do we get started? There's 2 ways I teach this. And again, whether you're a golf course owner or the CEO of a manufacturing company, doesn't matter, the approach is the same. The first is a problem-based approach, which is for leadership. The second is a use case model, which is for practitioners. In the first, you have a known pain point or challenge. There's something that is important to you to solve within your organization. Again, stay with the association. It could be we want to add 1,200 members over the next 5 years. And the way we've historically done it has not generated 240 new members a year. How do we get to 240 new members a year? So you take that problem and you identify the thing you want to solve for. So in any business, it could be growth of your audience base, it could be retention, it could be getting people back to the course more often, optimization of pricing, whatever it is. You make a problem statement. So in this example, I said we're struggling to attract and retain the next generation of golfers who have different expectations for on-course and clubhouse experiences. With a problem statement, you want a value statement. What is it worth to us to solve this? And so I just made up numbers here, but maybe you attach it to like a revenue. What you do then, and what I find is you can do this over a couple-hour period. Just sit down and think about your goals for the year, think about the challenge you've had. Make a list. Just take a spreadsheet out and start putting in audience goals, awareness goals, revenue goals, whatever they are, and then write down problem statements. They can be really rough. They don't have to be like refined like I've got, just like real general things. And then pretty quickly just go through and say roughly what would it be worth to us over a 1 to 3 year period to solve this. And then you kind of rank them and prioritize them and pick 1 or 2 to focus on in 2024. You're not going to solve all of your business problems with AI this year, but find 1 or 2 where you can take a smarter approach. The second, and often the real starting point for most people, is find the things you already do, you or your team already do every day, every week, every month, and pick a couple of quick win pilot projects to run. So what you're doing here is within your business operations, within your marketing, within your sales, within your customer service, whatever the areas are, you're looking at the tasks that you do and saying, is it data-driven? Like, should we be using data to do this? Is it repetitive? Like, do we take the same 10 steps every time we do this? Are we trying to predict an outcome or a behavior? Is it generating images, video, text, audio? It can be one of these things. It does not need to be all of these. But if you do tasks like this, and I'll show you some examples of what I'm talking about in a moment, then there's a possibility there's an AI tool that can help you do it more efficiently. So what you're doing is saying, if I could get AI to help me, how valuable would that be? Same premise. Just take a spreadsheet and make a list. We have a free download. I'll send it to Taylor. You can share it with the team or with everybody here. But you just put in tasks and use cases. Intervals, how often are you doing this? How many hours a month are you spending? What technology do you currently have to do this? And then how much are you spending on the tech? You can also add a labor cost column if you want. And what you're trying to get to is this really quick, what is the value to intelligently automate this? And again, you're not automating the task away. It may be like 10, 20, 30% of the task is being done by the AI. But 1 to 5, 5 is it would change my life if I didn't have to do the monthly report anymore. A 1 is not a big deal. It's like 30 minutes a month and I need to do it. So here's an example. We have a podcast. This is our fastest growing growth channel. Does anyone in the room do YouTube videos or podcasting as a way to grow their course? Oh man, we need like a separate marketing conference here. Okay, you should be doing YouTube videos and TikTok videos and stuff like that to grow the course. So our podcast went from 5,000 downloads in 2022, the whole year, to 265,000 in 2023. It's like massive growth. We use AI. It's like 21 steps every week to do this podcast, from writing the script up front, my co-host does, to picking the topics, to producing the video and the audio, to writing blog posts and cutting up social videos, all of these things, like 20 to 25 steps. It would take us about 40 to 50 hours a week if humans did all that work. We do it all in like 8 hours. And so AI is infused in like half of those tasks to do these kinds of things for us. It automatically creates the YouTube shorts and the TikTok videos from the 1 hour recording that I do. So I spend like an hour a week sitting in front of the camera talking about AI and business, and the team then distributes this stuff across all these channels with AI basically creating everything off of the transcript and the raw video. So it's like a really good, if you're the face of your course, you could do something like that where you commit 1 hour per week to create a source video that then gets distributed through all these things with AI doing most of the work. So it's really good way, especially as you want to reach the next generation of golfers. Buying AI tech is actually pretty straightforward. Again, there's some sponsors in the room here that are doing this kind of thing. You're basically going to them and saying, hey, today, this is what it looks like. We spend 10 hours a month doing this thing. Once we have your AI software, how many hours a month are we going to spend doing the thing? Is it going to be like 3 hours? And is it going to be a better output? Like, this is what our life looks like today. You know your business. How is this software going to change that? That's basically all you need to know. So the question becomes, what is the machine going to do? What's the AI going to do? And what am I, the human, still going to do? Level 0 is where most golf industry software is today and has been. You just want level 1 or level 2. You just want AI software that assists you, a co-pilot, in doing business tasks, marketing tasks, member engagement tasks, whatever it is. You just want assistance. And that can be 10% efficiency gain, 50% efficiency gain. It depends on what the use case is and what the software is. But you're just trying to make that incremental improvement that can really move your business forward. Full autonomy isn't a thing. There's no AI tool that does that today. That's where they're trying to get with AI agents, basically. So key takeaway here, a little bit of AI can go a really long way. All right, so I'm going to wrap up here with 3 steps you can take moving forward. As I said up front, whether we want it to or not, whether we resist it for a while or not, AI is going to change everything about how business is done. That is an inevitable outcome. How quickly the golf industry accepts that and sort of adapts to that, I don't know. There are a lot of industries that are going to be very slow to do this. Legal industry is going to fight this a lot. I talk with a lot of attorneys about this. Banking industry is going to be like, there's going to be industries that just try to not move too quickly. But the people who do, the ones who kind of get past the weirdness of it all and being a bit overwhelmed by it and say, you know what, I think there's an opportunity to do this. I want to build a smarter marketing operation, smarter finance operation, smarter course operations. Like, I want to just build a smarter organization, a smarter golf course that's more profitable, that can grow better. There is an opportunity to do that, to be an early adopter, to be an innovator within the golf industry. The way you do it is actually pretty straightforward. Look across the business and say, are there things that I can intelligently automate? Are there ways I can very quickly find opportunities to save time and money with smarter software? Then, are there ways I can just get more creative, that I can enhance creativity? Maybe you don't have the money to have a marketing staff. You do now. It's called ChatGPT for $20 a month. It is a marketing staff. you can have it assist you in being more creative, driving innovation, driving decision-making, and then really personalizing the experiences of the golfers in your club, especially if you're a member-based club. So, number one, focused on education and training. This is a starting point, hopefully, for many of you. Gives you a base foundation of the importance of this topic and some ideas of how you can move forward, but bring other people in your course along, your business along. Help them understand this stuff. So the way I explain this is just real simple. Comprehension is just the base level knowledge, which hopefully you generally have now. Competency, you have to experiment with these tools yourself. You've got to play around with them, test different things, and see what they're actually capable of to figure out how to apply it to your business to pursue the idea of mastery. The second, create a council within your business. This could be 2 people. Many of you may be smaller organizations, but pick a couple of people who are curious and want to learn this stuff, want to play around with ChatGPT and come back to you with some recommendations of ways to use it. Things like that. Just find a couple people. If you're a bigger organization, get a cross-discipline group. Get the finance person involved. Get the HR person involved. Like, you want different perspectives thinking about this from different angles. There's a couple of free resources. So, like, again, it's Marketing AI Institute, but our newsletter and our podcast are much broader business. We talk about every week the big things happening. So you can listen to the podcast for free. The newsletter summarizes the key points from the podcast. So however you prefer to get your news. And then it's also published on YouTube if you like to watch things. That's the quickest way I can tell you to stay up to date on everything. And then there's a book also. The third thing is build a roadmap for your company. Don't spend 3 months doing this. The tech's going to keep changing. Spend a weekend playing around with these ideas and saying, these are the areas I'm most excited about applying AI to. Let me start somewhere. And to give you a head start, I asked ChatGPT Plus, the GPT-4 version, to do this. So I just told it. So this is a weird thing. When you're working with these models, as bizarre as this sounds, tell it who it is. Talk to it like a human. What they have learned, and they being the people that are building these models, is it has this infinite knowledge source. It knows everything humans have ever published. And so when you ask it a question, it draws from this infinite knowledge source. But when you say, you're a golf industry consultant, it somehow narrows its source of data. The model all of a sudden is okay, this is what I know about golf. And it confines its thinking to that area. So talk to it like that. You are a golf industry consultant. These are what your clients do. They have 9-hole facilities and rural locations to owners of the largest golf portfolios in the most popular destinations. They're interested in leveraging AI to boost business reach and revenue, make operations more efficient. Tell it these things, and it's your task. Build a 10-point plan for how to do this, how to grow the golf business with this. And so if you take that prompt and you drop it into GPT-4, it will write a plan for you. And this is how I use AI. I use it as a strategic assistant. So when I'm stuck or when I got to think of something, I did this for price optimization the other night. We're launching a new membership program and new courses tomorrow. And I looked at the pricing the team and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And so I went and prompted, you are a price optimization expert. You are launching courses. This is the information. Give me the pricing discounts at these different levels. And it ran it and told me the reasoning behind why it was recommending these things. So literally, I use this every day as an assistant in my own business as a strategist. Because a lot of times it's 11 o'clock at night when I can think, and that's when I'm least capable of thinking. And so I need that help as an entrepreneur to do these kinds of things. So I'll get to the punchline, which again, we'll share the slides. This is what it came up with. It looked at the key areas, but if you look at the 10-point plan, AI-powered maintenance, booking systems, which we already talked about, enhancing player experience, resource consumption, across smart irrigation, energy management systems, things like that. Marketing efforts we touched on. Training tools, we showed an example of a training tool. Dynamic staffing, that's an interesting one. Being able to predict staffing based on weather patterns, that's a really fascinating use case. Strengthen safety and security, sustainable practices, and then prioritize feedback and iteration. These are all really interesting areas. I don't run a golf business, I don't know this stuff, but you as the domain experts could take something like this and be like, oh, that's really interesting, here's 5 other ways I could think of. That's what these tools are capable of. So my call to action to you is don't wait for the golf industry to get smarter around you. Like, it's starting to happen. It's going to be kind of a slow build probably within the golf industry, but then all of a sudden you're going to look around a year or two from now and everything's going to be AI. And you don't want to look back and be like, I should have done something when that talk happened in 2024. The future of all business, all work, is human plus machine. We are going to work with them as partners, as assistants, and it is happening right now. Thank you. Do you want it? You got time for a couple questions? All right, we have time for a couple questions, Taylor's telling me. Anyone have any questions? Yes. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. You do your podcast, and then you have your newsletter that it comes from that. Is that automatic AI?
So the way we do it is we use a tool called Descript, which is DESCRIPT.com. It's like one of our absolute favorite AI tools, and it's like $15 a month. So if you do anything with video or audio production, absolutely check out Descript. We upload the video to Descript. Descript creates a transcript. It recognizes each speaker, so it knows who's speaking, and it tags that automatically within the transcript. You can then edit the video by deleting words. So if like my podcast producer that does this, if we rambled too much at the beginning and she just wants to get right to the first topic, she literally just highlights and deletes the words, and it cuts the video. There's no video editing. Once we take the transcript, we drop it into like a GPT-4 and say, summarize this transcript with 10 bullet points of the key things and include the sections. It'll then write that. We'll take the video, we put in, I think we use something called Opus Clips, and you can say just like find the highlights of this 1 hour video and break it into segments and create those videos, and it'll like cut it up and create those videos. So like I read a book years ago that said the future of all work is telling the machine what to predict, or in this case do, and knowing what to do with the prediction. That's basically what it's doing. Like, we understand the content, we understand our audience, we're telling it to do these things, but then it gives us something that's like, that's really good. Kind of like that example of the golf. Like, you know if that's good better than I do, but knowing to tell it the thing is part one of the equation. So, yeah. And again, my lady who does the podcast has 0 video and audio training. And she learned the tool in like 15 minutes and now can do this.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One, it's incredible stuff, so thank you for being here. One is the big word security with this, and that's a whole different issue. But when you said do an autobiography of myself,
yeah,
there was 15 to 20% could be inaccurate. Like you wrote a book.
Yeah.
How is that protected on our stuff when we're looking? How do we know it's super accurate, and how do we know the information is correct?
Yeah, we don't really. So the way they're trying to solve this is there are some AI researchers, leading AI researchers, who think the fact that they hallucinate is actually a feature, not a bug. Because their concern is that we become too reliant on the output and we start removing humans from the loop because we just trust the AI knows what it's doing. So they think that it's actually not a bad thing that it sometimes gets stuff wrong. And so what you start to think about is how you use them. So if you're outputting a transcript that you're going to go through and edit anyway, it's okay if it makes some mistakes because you're looking at it. If you're trusting it to like create, write, and send the final email with no overlooking from you, that's on you. Like, that's the thing that's going to go out into the public that you need to take ownership. So the way we explain it is like humans have what in the AI world we call agency. We have to be the ones that are liable for the decisions and the outputs. And my opinion is that's probably best, that we should have that. That being said, they are trying to find ways to reduce the number of hallucinations, to make them far more reliable. The primary way they do that is by connecting it to search engines. So what happens when you train GPT-4 is you spend, in that case, probably 90 days. You give it all of this data, all these books, all these internet pages, all these emails, all these things, research papers, and it learns in that training set. But its learning stops at a point in time when you run it, that training data. So in the case of ChatGPT, it stopped learning in September 2021. So if you went into ChatGPT in late 2022 and said, who's the top team in the NBA right now, it would have no idea. It wasn't in its training data. So what they did was they connected them to the internet, and now what happens is you ask it a question, it develops a prompt or a response, it then goes and verifies its response against search engine data, and then it spits out a reply to you. So they're trying to improve it, but you cannot rely on these things to be correct just because the way that they work. And I get it, like it's just weird. Like, and the researchers building them don't really know why they hallucinate. Like, in a weird way, it's like if I make something up in my response to you, and then you said, why did you make that thing up? I can't like go into my brain and like figure out why I chose to make that one specific thing up. It just came out. That's basically how these things work. You can't do an MRI on it and figure out like why did it do the thing? They don't know. So it's just, once you understand that though, you can work with these things better and pick the use cases where you accept that they have flaws, and that's okay, because they can still create a ton of value.
Hi. So in 2007, was pretty much when the first smartphone officially launched, and by 2013, almost every single person had one, and it completely changed how we communicated. So it was about 6 years. Yeah. Where do you see it going in just the day-to-day average life within the next 5 years, and what medium do you see people using, whether that is like an iPhone, a smartphone for it, or a computer? How do you see it kind of changing our day-to-day communications, kind of like how smartphones did from the 2007 jump to basically now?
Yeah, I'll try and answer this as quickly as I can. I generally avoid answering anything beyond 12 months because nobody knows. If they confidently tell you anything after 12 months, they're just lying. Or they just think they know stuff they don't know. In essence, the language models that we talked about, the ability to generate things will be almost think of it more like an operating system for all software and society versus like a single endpoint you interact with. Just this week, Samsung Galaxy S24 was announced, where they're talking about like the first truly like AI first phone, where generative AI is built into the whole thing. Apple's going to do something similar with the iPhone. Last week at the CES show, something called a Rabbit device that has these AI agents built in came out, and it sold 50,000 units in the first 72 hours. There are wearables as a new thing, like there's this thing called the Humane Pin that's supposed to record everything around you and have infinite memory of your life. Meta has Ray-Ban glasses that record the world. There's a pendant that people are building that like Apple Vision Pro just came out. Like they're trying to figure out how we will interface with these things. I am currently of the belief the two most natural interfaces are your phone and your watch. And I think for most people, that is how you will experience AI, is on your laptop, on your phone, and on your watch. They will just keep getting smarter. There will be pockets of society that go to the fringes, though, and actually start wearing AI-specific devices that they'll talk to and interact with. I think it's weird, and I don't see that being a long-term thing, but a lot of money is going into it. Johnny Ive, who designed the iPhone with Steve Jobs, now runs a consulting firm, and he's working with Sam Altman, supposedly, on building an AI-first device. I don't know. I have no idea where 5 years from now is, but I can tell you it's going to be really weird and exciting. All right. Do we have time for one more? You want to? All right, we'll cut it off there. I am going to be around for the next couple hours, though, so if you want to grab me, I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you very much.